Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 84. For this one, we go to Rounders Card Club in San Antonio, Texas, and we play 5-5, no limit. It's one of my favorite episodes ever. Getting into more all-in situations than any other episode for a cash game. So hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go ahead and get started. Andrew and I arrive at the Rounders Card Club for our second meetup game stop of this Texas trip. As soon as you walk in, it's evident that the place was designed for and by actual poker players. Everywhere you look, you'll see poker-related artwork and quotes from numerous legends of the game. It has a very cool, unique vibe to it. The place is filled to max capacity. We get 7 games of 5-5, no limit running. These two gentlemen showed up wearing shirts that they made based on maps I put together in previous episodes. I think it's pretty great. Time to play some poker now. I buy into the game for 1,000, then I take my seat, and we're gonna start this thing off with a bang. First hand we'll go over, I pick up pocket aces in the hijack, under the gun opens at 20. The price for admission to the flop is about to go up, I 3-bet to 70. The cutoff loves pain, and he cold calls. Onto the gun, now 4 bets to 300. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the donations people are willing to make to the Brad Owen charity for lanky white guys. I appreciate it. I shove, the cutoff folds, the under the gun player snap calls. He probably knows before the cards are even turned over. But I do turn him over anyway. He shows pocket kings, not too much he could have done differently. We're hoping for a clean run out. The flop comes 9-9-8 with 2 hearts. I've got the ace of hearts, so there's not much to worry about. The turn is another 8. I just need to fade a king. Don't do it to me, dealer. We win it. 30 minutes in, we've already doubled our money. My hourly here is phenomenal. There's not a lot that's more fun than watching piles of chips come your way. Next I pick up pocket queens in the cutoff. Under the gun +1 opens at 30. He's the player who I stacked in the previous hand. A player in middle position calls. I 3-bet to 125. Everyone folds, we win. I always hear about how hard poker is, but it turns out it's super easy. In this one, I get ace queen of hearts in middle position. Under the gun limps in. I make it 25, the button calls, under the gun folds, we're heads up, the flop comes ace 7-4 rainbow. I go for the check here. I've noticed that the button likes to fire away. He plays right into my hands, betting 35. I call, the turn is a deuce. I check again, the opponent bets 50. I call, the river is a 10. I don't want to check and have the player check back, so I lead this time for 105. The button calls, I figure I'm going to win it. Nope. He turns over 10-7 of diamonds, he drills the river and takes it down. It's possible that poker is maybe a little tougher than I thought. Here I'm dealt pocket 7s in the hijack, a middle position player limps in, I make it 25. The small blind calls, the big blind 3-bets to 100, the limper folds. I could fold too, but I call. The 3-better is the guy with the pocket kings from earlier. He deserves some action. Small blind folds, so it's heads up. The flop comes king, queen, 8. This isn't the one that we wanted. The big blind leads for 125. It's a good flop for his 3-bet range. He can have all kinds of sets, aces, and ace-king. I fold. He gets some of his money back from me. I move on to the second table, and it's bomb pot time. Every player puts in 15 before the cards are dealt, then we go straight to a flop. I'm in the small blind, and I check dark because I can't imagine a flop in which I'd lead out. The flop comes ace-6 rainbow.
I'm gonna go ahead and check. I don't want to have yet.
I look down and it's a miracle. I flop trips, checks to the hijack, and he tosses in 100. Folds to me.
Not giving it up that easy.
I already know what it is. It's going to be like, all right, here's the action. We had a $15 bomb pot. There's a boost back.
You're making my job easy for me.
This is an interesting spot because it's very likely that I'm up against another ace. There aren't any draws, so I doubt anyone would bet into 8 other players without one. If that's the case, I'm going to be either behind or I'm going to be chopping a huge percentage of the time since my kicker is so poor. The turn is a deuce. One of 2 hands containing an ace that I was beating now turns into a boat.
Oh man.
Jesus.
Oh, man.
Let's go.
He had no respect for money. He's gonna punch off his whole stack.
The river is a 3. Now every hand containing an ace has me beat, except I chop with ace 5.
Check. How much is it?
I thought you were going to snap one.
600.
Obviously, just like the vlog, Joey.
You have ace 6?
This is an interesting dialogue that's worth noting. I ask him if he has ace 6, and he says nope right away. I've read in a book called Verbal Poker Tells that people really dislike lying. If you ask anyone if they have a specific hand and they're strong, but your guess is incorrect, then they'll often tell you truthfully that your guess is wrong. For that reason, coupled with the fact that I can't imagine what he's bluffing with here, I'm okay letting my hand go.
Alright, man. Show the bluff. Go ahead. You win it, man. You win it.
Oh no. Come on,
Show the bluff.
He doesn't show and is immediately possessed by some kind of wild squawking bird. Who cares what this guy had? I move on, but I'm wobbling a bit because if I'm being honest, I'm on tilt. I haven't won a hand in a long time and my stack has decreased by about $650 since the high point. Here I pick up ace 3 suited in the cutoff, under the gun limps in, the hijack raises to 15. I put in a 3-bet to 50. The button calls, the small blind calls, under the gun comes along, and the hijack calls too. 5 of us see the flop. This is not the result that I wanted. If I don't drill something big, I'm gonna give up. The dealer puts out queen 6-3 with 2 clubs. It checks around. The turn is an 8. It checks to me. I'm thinking I may be able to take it down with a bet. I fire 160. The small blind calls. Everyone else folds. The river is a deuce. The opponent checks. I have some showdown value in case I'm up against a flush draw, so I check back. The opponent shows pocket jacks. He wins it. I didn't tell a very convincing story after checking back the flop. I get punished for it, and I lose. I'm even more frustrated with myself for trying to force it, so I take a break. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm playing a little bit tilted. I was up big right from the start. I had the aces versus kings. Now I've lost several hands in a row. I tried to force it with the ace 3 of spades, bluffed in a spot that isn't that good, especially considering how many opponents were in there. Gonna rein it in, and hopefully things will turn around for me. I switched to my 3rd table of the night, and it seems that's exactly what I needed to get back to winning. I pick up pocket kings under the gun and open to 20. The big blind calls, it's heads up, the flop is queen jack 6, the big blind checks, I bet 25. The opponent folds. It's not a big win, but after losing multiple hands in a row, it helps a lot mentally to end a hand with more chips than I started with. Remember when I folded trips earlier? Well, I actually do care what the player had, so I go back and try to get it out of him. What's your name?
My name is Joey.
Joey?
Yes.
What'd you have on that hand?
I've drawn a little bit of a blank from all the pot that I smoked, but it was either an ace deuce or an ace 3. I believe it was ace deuce.
So you think you rivered the?
I believe I rivered a boat.
You rivered the boat.
You had me out kicked
Right,
to the river.
Nice hand, man. Thanks for saying that.
Of course.
I come back to the table and I pick up ace king offsuit under the gun +1 in a straddle pot. I open to 35. Under the gun +2 calls, then the straddler makes it 140 from the button. This seems like a decent spot for him to squeeze. The fact that he's the button straddler makes me think he could be doing this light too. Maybe he's trying to send me a message not to mess with hands in which he's involved. I'm almost at the top of my range and I don't want to call and then have to play a big pot out of position. I 4-bet to 400. Under the gun +2 folds. The button jams for 1135 total. I have him slightly covered. Typically, I don't like to get it in for this amount without even a pair. It is a straddle pot though, so it's really only for slightly more than 100 big blinds. I have so much invested already. I call, hoping I'm up against anything but pocket aces. The opponent lets out a sound that I interpret as him not being happy that I called. So that's good news.
I think we got the same hand, if you're not excited about it.
I guess I interpreted that wrong. He has aces. Good read, Brad.
I thought you said yikes.
The flop is not a great one for us.
And we're dead.
The turn gives us a little life.
We're not dead. Jackpot?
We don't get there on the river, and just like that, we've gone from being up 1,000 to being down more than 900 on the session. My hourly at this place is terrible. There's not a lot that's less fun than watching piles of chips that used to be yours go to someone else. I don't think I've played one like this on the vlog where I was up early pretty big and then got stuck pretty big. So I'm still in the middle of it. I don't know if I'm gonna come back, but I'm gonna try. I had on for 900 more, and this gentleman here named Sean buys me dinner, which was delicious. I go to the next table and pick up 5-4 hearts in the cutoff. Under the gun opens to 30. He seems to be a very good player who's having a great session. Under the gun +1 calls, the hijack calls. I call even though I should probably be folding this, but I'm overextending myself to try to turn the session around. It's exactly what you don't want to do when you're stuck. Small blind calls, 5 of us see the flop. It comes king 6 deuce with 2 clubs. We've got a gut shot straight draw, and that's it. The small blind checks, under the gun bets 75. It folds to me. I didn't call with 5-4 suited, only to drill hands. It's important to bluff with suited connectors in order to make them profitable. I do have a draw to the nuts, so if I bluff and it doesn't work out, I still have some equity. I make it 250. Small blind folds. The pre-flop raiser tanks for a long time, then eventually lets it go. We again forced it, but this time it gets through. We steal one, then head to the 5th table of the night. I dealt ace 4 suited, under the gun +2, and I opened to 20. The hijack calls and the button calls. 3 of us see the flop. It's 6-3 deuce with 2 hearts. What a dream. We've got a flush draw and a straight draw with 1 over. I lead for 40. Wouldn't be too upset if it folds through, or if I get called, or even if I get raised. The players end up tossing their cards in the muck. We win. Later I pick up 6-5 offsuit in the big blind. 4 people limp in. The small blind completes. I check. 6 of us see the flop. Historically, 6-5 offsuit is not the best hand, except in this instance, it comes 8-7-4 rainbow. The flop is damn good. We've got the nuts. Checks to the hijack who fires for 20. The cutoff calls, the button calls, and the small blind calls. What the hell do these people have? No one knows, but they're not going to see a turn for that price. I raise to 150. Under the gun +1 folds. The hijack says, cool check raise, bro, but I'm not impressed. He makes it 550. The cutoff, button, and the small blind evacuate the area. There's not much for me to do. I rip it for 12-10 total, and I get snap called. I turn over the goods. The opponent has pocket 7s for a set. We're not nearly out of the woods yet. We're going to need to fade all 8s, 4s, and the case 7. The turn is safe. It's the 3 of hearts. I've still got the nuts. Please don't pair the board. The river is the king of hearts. We cooler the opponent, winning a massive pot of over 2,500. All the chips are pushed towards me. We're in for almost 2 buy-ins, but we're currently up 600 on the night. We want to keep the momentum going, and we pick up pocket 10s in middle position. I open to 20. Cutoff calls. The big blind comes along too. 3 of us see the flop. It's ace king 7 with 2 hearts. We all check. The turn is a queen. We all check again. The river is a jack, giving us another straight. The big blind checks. I bet 50. The cutoff calls. That's good news for us. The big blind folds. We turn over the straight. No chop. We win this one outright. Things are going well, and they're about to get even better. I pick up pocket aces, under the gun +2. Under the gun limps in. I raise to 30. Under the gun makes the call. We're heads up. The dealer puts out ace king deuce rainbow. We flop top set. It's almost too good. The opponent checks. I check back. The turn is a 10. Under the gun checks. Time to start betting. I make it 40. The player shoves for $5 more. I call. He has jack 10. The river is the 4 of hearts. We win that one. We're on a roll, and our image is great. Plus, Cedric, who is a local poker legend that drove Andrew and I from Austin to San Antonio for free, has cashed in his good karma points and is crushing on the night. He's up all the money. Here I'm dealt queen jack of hearts on the button. Under the gun +1 opens at 15. I call. The big blind calls. The flop comes king 4-3 with 2 hearts. We've got the second nut flush draw with the backdoor straight draw. Checks to me. I bet 40. Both opponents call. The turn is the 10 of spades, giving me an open ender. It checks to me. I picked up some more outs, but only have 1 more card to come. I fire for 120. I'm almost hoping for a call because I want to hit and take someone to Value Town. Both players let their hands go. We've got 2,700 in front of us. We take that to the last table of the night, where we pick up ace king offsuit in the small blind. Under the gun +1 opens at 35. 2 players call. This should be an automatic 3-bet, but really, I'm not thrilled to be in this situation. I was up fairly big to start the session, then I lost almost all of it. Now I'm back to being up 800. I kind of want to lock up a win. I don't want to lose a big pot and be stuck again towards the very end of the night. I'm emotionally exhausted, and I've already lost enough with ace king today. I'm somewhat ashamed to say this, but I flat to keep the pot small while playing out of position. Maybe I can surprise my opponents with a big hand if I hit. The big blind, who's already made it clear to me he wants to make the vlog, shoves for 805 total.
All in.
Folds to me. This guy has aces or kings. He probably would have made a more reasonable raise. It seems like he doesn't want action, and he's doing this as a bluff, or at best he has a hand like queens, jacks, or ace king. My hand is super under-repped. I know I said I didn't want to play a big pot towards the end of the night, but this spot is too good to pass up.
Good call.
Oh, shit.
I had a feeling at short hand.
Oh, man.
When he almost raised me.
Ace? Huh?
You got a pair?
No. Ace high. Ace high. I think you're good. That's good news.
The flop comes Jack 9-7, and I've already been told that my ace high is better than his. I'm not 100% sure if this is a good flop for me or not, but I assume it's fine. The turn is the 4 of clubs, so there are 3 clubs out there. I don't have one, so I really don't want to see another one. The river is a second jack. That's a good card for me because it makes it less likely my opponent is paired his low card. I'm thinking that my ace king is good.
You want to speed it? Right?
Nice hand, nice hand.
That's all mine.
Nice hand.
Yeah. Did you record that?
I did. You got it. You got me. All right, nice hand. I try to avoid a big pot, then get it all in almost as good as I can and get crushed. Instead of being up almost 1,700, I'm slightly below even again, and my heart sinks into my stomach. This has been the swingiest session that I can remember, and there's still more poker left to be played. Pick up ace-10 suited under the gun +2 and open to 20. The player to my left, who doubled up through me the last hand, makes the call. The cutoff also calls. 3 of us see it. The dealer puts out 9-8-7 with 2 spades and 1 club. I bet 35 with an open-ender, 2 overs, and a backdoor flush draw. The player to my left raises to 85. The cutoff folds. I'm looking for revenge. I call. The turn is another 8. I check. The opponent bets 100. I may be drawing dead at this point. I don't want to keep putting money in under these circumstances. If I hit the straight, it'll be very obvious, and I don't know if it'll even be good. I fold. The player turns over 9-6 offsuit for the win. My stack is going in the opposite direction that it should be, and I feel like I'm stuck in some kind of bizarre dream. That's when I pick up ace-king suited in the cutoff. Clearly, the poker gods are having fun with me today. Under the gun opens to 15. A player in middle position 3 bets to 55. Of course he does. I'm put to another decision for the 3rd time with this hand. I 4-bet to 200. Small blind 5-bet shoves for about 550 total. It folds to me. The way tonight is gone. I'm nearly certain that I'm behind, but I can't fold for only 350 more.
Let's do it.
The opponent turns over pocket kings. Seems about right. I do at least have 1 live card.
Oh, those are good right now, man.
Ace king. We finally get some help. The flop comes ace-7-6 with 2 hearts. We have the opponent drawing dead to 1 out and backdoor hearts. The turn is a deuce. The river is at 10, and on our 3rd try, getting it all in pre-flop with ace-king, we get lucky and finally win one.
Sorry, man.
The night was crazy, but it went well for the most part. Andrew crushed it, winning multiple thousands of dollars. 6.5 hours and 5 lead changes after the start of this session, we book a $490 win of our own. My hourly at this place isn't so bad after all. That was probably one of the wildest sessions that I've ever played. Tons of all-ins, got it in good, got it in bad. I was up 1,000, I was down 1,000, I was up 800, I was down a couple hundred, and finished winning 390 on the session, and I'm happy just to get out of here alive. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons because it helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and I'm happy to get back to you. I want to give a big thanks to Rounders Card Club for having us out there. That was a blast, and we're coming out again. So March 13th and March 14th, I'll be there with Andrew, and Johnny Vibes is coming too. So we're celebrating Rounders' 1st birthday. There's clearly tons of action in that area, and it makes for a fun video, as you guys have just seen. So yeah, if you're in the area, then come hang out, have some drinks, play some cards with us. Andrew and I will be at Maryland Live March 6th as well. So if you're on the East Coast, come out to that one. We've got like 200 plus people on the list, but Maryland Live has said that they're dedicating 20 tables to us, which makes this by far the biggest meetup game we've ever done. Very, very cool. I'm super excited for that. Everyone should be able to get in the game, yeah, it's going to be a blast. Last thing I want to talk about is that a lot of people ask me which resources are best to improve their poker game. As you can see, I've got a lot of books back here. I think the best one for people that play 1-2 up to 5-10 is called The Course by Ed Miller. There's a ton of really good training sites that I use. I have links down below in the description box, and you can check those out. Also, I think poker forum sites are really important. It helps you improve a lot if you're able to share your poker hands and get feedback. There's a poker forum site that my brother and I started. It's called offthefelt.com. It's absolutely free to join. I'll have a link down below in the description box. And I'm just super impressed with the insight that's on there. It's one of the absolute best free resources available. So definitely check that out. Hope you guys are all doing well. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.
Right on, ladies and gentlemen. Right on, behind the scenes. Behind the scenes with the nuts.
I know. I was sweating his hand.
Brad, you're very good.
Nice catch, Brad.
Got luck.